take us back to the day that you caught Valentine. I just want to give you a little bit of time just to talk about that experience. The day you caught her, just tell us how that all played out, Larry.
Well, I had been in a corporate review. I told you I worked for AT&T, Southwestern Bell Yellow Pages, which AT&T bought. And I had been in a corporate review that entire week prior to catching Valentine on February the 14th, 1988, which was a Sunday. And I had been working like at least 12 hours a day that whole week doing the review of the sales force and, everything. So we came down to the lake Friday night, no, we didn't. We came down to the lake, I think, Saturday morning. I was really tired on Friday night. We came to the lake Saturday morning, which was February the 13th, and I had a trailer down in Lakeport Marina, and we, a little travel trailer. So we would stay in that trailer on the weekends when we came down here to fish. And, of course, Valentine's Day was the next day, Sunday, and I hadn't got my wife a present or anything. And we woke up Sunday morning. We fished Saturday, and it was a cold weekend, but we fished Saturday and caught some nice fish. But on Sunday morning when we woke up, it was really cold. It was blowing, and my wife had given me a nice Valentine card and a present. And I had to tell her, honey, I am so sorry, but, with the corporate review going all week, I just didn't get you anything. I am so sorry. And her exact words to me, I'm not kidding you, this sounds like a fairy tale, but it's the truth. Her exact words to me was, oh, it's okay, baby, just go out and catch me a big fish today. Little did we know. So about 8 o'clock in the morning, we trailered around to a place called Pinson.
Has arrived.
Where we had bought a lot, and on the water, and they had a private ramp over there, so the wind was blowing pretty bad, and it was really cold. So we trailered around there and just put in at that private ramp, and I fished Pinson Creek, which is a great creek to fish, one of my favorites. But anyway, it was kind of out of the wind, and I was just flipping the creek channel. The water temperature was 46 degrees. So my wife, Cecile, had her bear suit on and was wrapped up in a blanket laying across the seat. And she was sleeping most of the morning and just staying snuggled in. And I was fishing. And I fished all morning long up and down that creek. Never had a bite. And about 11:45, I pitched into a kind of a brush top along the edge of that creek. And I was fishing about 14 to 16 foot of water. And the jig stopped. I was fishing a homemade jig I'd made with a fork on it. And this jig stopped about 3 foot down. And I thought, well, I didn't know whether I'd hit a branch or what. I mean, it didn't really look like a bite. It didn't feel like a bite. It just kind of stopped. So I said, well, I ain't got a bite. I want to set the hook on this and see what happens. So I set the hook, and I got her to the top of the water on the hook set. But when my rod was just almost straight up in the air, and she was on top of the water, and all I could see was her gill plates, her head and her gill plates. And I saw how, it was a huge fish. So I hollered at Cecile. I said, get the net, get the net. So she jumped up off the bill, and but the fish went back down. She started back down, and the only thing I could do was just kind of press the release button on the reel and just kind of thumb, the line and just kind of just let her go because she pulled really, really hard. And so I got her back up to the top of the water, and Lucille tried to net her. Jason, it was really a stupid thing, but back then the only thing I had was one of those little aluminum nets, one of them little silver aluminum nets, and the net wasn't very big and the handle wasn't very long. You probably know the kind I'm talking about. the kind you fish for crappie with. And I'd already caught a bunch of big fish, but I didn't have any trouble getting a 10-pounder in that little net. But anyway, she tried to net Valentine, and that fish stretched all the way across the net. And when she tried to lift her up, she rolled off the back of it. Oh man, and my heart just sank. Because, and then she went down again. She pulled real hard again. And so same thing. I'm pushing the bail, and releasing the bail and trying to thumb the line and just cushion her a little bit, and trying to stop her. But, so I told Seal, I said, if I get her back up here, don't worry about anything except her head. Get her head in the net. That's all you worry about. Well, fortunately, Lord was with me. I got her back up, and she got her head in the net and lifted her out of the water. And of course, her tail was still hanging out of the net. But we got her in the boat, and she was hooked so good, right in the top of the mouth. She was hooked so good, Jason, I had to take a pair of pliers and bend the hook out to get it out of her. She wasn't getting off. I mean, she was hooked perfectly. And so I got her, I got the hook out of her, and I put her in the live well. And of course, Seal said, what does she weigh? What does she weigh? And I said, I don't know. I know she weighs over 15. She's got to weigh over 15. And I said, well, I don't know what she weighs. So anyway, got her in the live well and got the water turned on and everything. And then I took my line and I ran my fingers, over the line where the jig was at. And I'm not kidding you, for about 2.5 foot, it felt like a hacksaw had been over that line. And I was fishing with 25-pound big game at the time. And when I ran my finger over those lines, I said, how in the world I got that fish back up there? Because the line was just frayed like you would not believe. On some of the stuff she was kind of hung up on down in there.
Yeah.
So anyway, we cranked up immediately and put the boat on the trailer and took her to Lakeport Marina to weigh her. And at that time, Lakeport Marina really didn't have official scales. They had some of those old meat scales that had the roller on them, And so we called down at Lunker Lodge, and they had an official scale. And so they brought their scales down to Lakeport Marina so we could weigh that fish. And so we got her on there, and she weighed 17.29, 17 pounds, 4.29 ounces. So
Goodness gracious, what
the rest of and then another great thing happened. The picture of Valentine that I'm using, there was a lady down there at the marina that was a professional photographer. And she took that picture that I had on my business card and we published everywhere. She took that picture and she sent me an 8x10 of that picture. And then I asked her, is there any way that I could use that negative that she got? Of course, it's back on 35 millimeters, And I had all kind of Polaroids and everything. But she was a professional photographer, and she's the one that took that famous picture of me and Valentine. And I asked her if I could have that negative and use it, and she said, sure, I'll send it to you. She sent me the negative, and I got to use it. Yeah, I didn't even have to pay her anything. She was just so nice. And she was so nice, and and that's the picture that, became so famous,